All right, very good. Well, um, that's your background. How about telling us a little bit about how you got involved with AARP and specifically what made you interested in possibly working as a fraud watch volunteer?
Well, it started um, probably about a week and a half before I even knew AARP had a fraud watch network or fraud watch volunteers. I was trying to sell my father's 1965 vintage Craftsman radial arm saw on Facebook Marketplace, and I'd been having quite some difficulty getting a decent price for it. And then all of a sudden one day I got a message that said, "Is this still available?" And I thought, this is great. I'm finally going to get someone to pay over $100 for this saw. And what ensued after that was about a 10 to 12 minute back and forth via Facebook Messenger, trying to arrange for this person to pick up the saw and how they were going to pay for it. And it started out all very innocent, with the person promising to stop by my house and bring cash. And so, of course, I gave them my address because they can't pick it up unless they have my address. And then the conversation kind of turned because this person told me, "Oh, but I'll still be out of town by then. I'm going to have my son-in-law pick it up." And I said, "Will he be able to bring cash?" And the gentleman said, "Well, could we do Venmo?" And I've done Venmo before, so I thought, I can do Venmo. Venmo is safe. I've sent money. I've had people send me money. So we proceeded down that road, and he asked me to mark the item as sold. So I marked the item as sold, and he said, "I'm sending you the money now." And I said, "I don't see the money." And he said, "Well, I sent it." And I said, "Well, I'm checking." And he said, "Let me make sure I had the right account. You know, what's your email and what's your cell phone number?" So now I gave him my email and my cell phone number. And then he said, "Oh," and I said, "What?" And he said, "Well, I just got an email. It said, because my account is a business account and your account is a personal account, I can't send you that small amount of money. Check your email, see if you got an email." So I got on my email and I said, sure enough, here's an email from the Venmo people saying that because the person trying to send me money has a Venmo business account, not a Venmo personal account, that he has to send me at least, I can't recall whether it was $200 or $300, and he can't send less than that. And I said, this doesn't sound right. And the guy's typing and saying, "Oh, this has happened to me before." And so at this point, I was starting to feel like, wait a minute, first he was going to pick it up in person. Then that's not going to work out. First he was going to pay cash. Now that's not going to work out. Now we're trying to do Venmo and this isn't going to work out. And why is this so much trouble? So I kept him on a string for a little while. Well, I got on Google and I just thought, I wonder if this is a scam. And I typed in Venmo Facebook Marketplace scam. And sure enough, boom, up pops an article that says, here's what's going to happen. And apparently what was going to happen was he was going to send me $300. And then he was going to request that I Venmo him back the extra $175 that he overpaid. And then I would find out his original payment didn't really go through. So at that point, I messaged him back and said, this is a scam. This conversation is over. And I cut him off. So when I went back the next day, lo and behold, his entire Facebook profile was gone. Ooh. And there was no sign that he had ever been on Facebook at all. And so I went through all that, and about a week and a half later, I believe it was my wife was reading the morning paper, and there was an article about AARP in it, and at the very end of it, it said AARP is looking for fraud watch volunteers in the Kansas, Missouri area, and I thought maybe that'd be a good thing to get involved in because I always thought fraud didn't happen to me; it happened to other people. And guess what? It happens to everybody. And maybe I should be helping people avoid that.
Well,
So,
it does indeed happen to everybody. And no matter your level of sophistication, how on point you are in watching this stuff, it happens so easily, mostly because I'm sure, like in your case, you were kind of anxious to sell that saw. And when you saw the opportunity after so many months of not moving it, you kind of got into what the scammers like to call the ether, where things don't always click in right away, or sometimes you got to get kind of slapped across the face before you go, oh, yeah, that's not quite the way we want to go ahead and do this.
Yes,
So,
when I started finding out I was going to be making change for a Venmo payment, that was when I decided that, my father wouldn't roll over in his grave if this didn't happen right now.
So we can really say that the thing that tipped you off more than anything was the fact that you knew you were going to have to give money back. Although
yeah,
you were kind of seeing some tips before that
I was, one of them right off, which I guess my better nature as a human being prevented me from going there, was the person who I was texting back and forth with used very poor grammar and misspelled a lot of words, just like you see in like spam emails. and that didn't really kick in right away because I was really focused on selling the saw. And
right.
then all of a sudden he needed more information than anyone has ever asked for sending and receiving a Venmo payment. And all of that, I still was just thinking, I don't want to give this away or take it apart and put it in the trash. I really, really want to sell this. And luckily I woke up before I did something kind of silly.
There's some good tips right there, the things that you saw. Watch for those things like being drawn in and too excited about perhaps doing a transaction. Realize that sometimes you don't have to be the buyer to be the one who's going to be scammed. I think that's an important lesson right there.
Yeah, I think that's why I was caught off guard. I had never read anything about scams that were targeting the person that was selling. Yeah. I always thought you had to be the one buying to get scammed.
These guys figure out ways around it, and I think also what we learned there, although it's not always a tell, it frequently is when you see those problems with grammar and spelling. It's not a guaranteed tell, but it's something that you ought to at least be aware of. Yeah. So anyhow, I'm glad all of that worked out, and you didn't end up selling to that gentleman. Did you end up selling the saw in the end?
No, there's kind of more to that story. Giving up on Facebook Marketplace, I went to the Nextdoor website, which I don't know if people are familiar with, but it's like it's just like a community website where people buy and sell things on their marketplace page. And by this time I had the price way down, and I thought I had a buyer, and then that person started to say he wanted to barter for it. He didn't really want to bring cash. And then it occurred to me through my exchanges with him that this person was in the habit of selling stolen goods, because he was offering me all kinds of stuff. And I thought, well, I'm not going down this road. Then I had another person who actually said they were going to come pick it up, and I spent the 45 minutes putting the saw all together to get ready to give them, and they never showed up. So eventually I took it apart, and it's in the attic of my garage.
Right. Well, lessons learned. And as long as those lessons help bring you to be a part of the Fraud Watch Network, we're kind of glad they happened. Okay.
Yes.
So anyhow, well, that's it. I just wanted to make sure everybody got a chance to to know John, and I'm sure you're going to be seeing him in the future as a speaker when we have requests for public speakers. He's also going to alternate with me on doing these Fraud Watch Network, Fraud Watch Fridays. So he's going to be a familiar face, and you won't have to look so much at my ugly.
And if you ever need any pieces of wood cut in half, I have the perfect tool.
Got the thing. All right, folks. Well, as always, first of all, I want to remind you that, we're always interested in having some more volunteers, and we've got a banner going across the bottom right now that if you're interested in becoming a Fraud Watch volunteer, you can contact KSAARP at aarp.org or call the toll-free number of 866-448-3619 and ask for Mary, and she can help you get involved in doing this. And we'd certainly welcome more friends to help us out on the Fraud Watch Network here in the Midwest. Now, to kind of wrap up for the day, I'd like to again remind you that if you want more information about the Venmo scam that John was talking about today, or actually any kind of fraud or scam, you're always encouraged to access the AARP Fraud Watch Network at http www.aarp.org Fraud Watch Network, or call the Fraud Watch helpline at 877-908-3360 to talk to someone directly. So looks like our time's just about up. Thanks again, John, for coming on board and joining us.
And remember, Ed, if you can spot a scam, you can stop a scam.
All right, brother. Thank you very much, and goodbye, everybody. Have a great month, and we'll see you next month on Fraud Watch Friday. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.